Hi there, it's Dave here from Aldrock Swift. Got another Fireside Chat. I think that's what we're calling them nowadays. And today it's with Marc Regeur. So he's the Senior Business Development Director at a Saudi Arabian studio called Steer Studios. Hi, great to meet you. So, Marc, how would you feel about just getting us started about your career today, your experience in games, and what's kind of got you to Steer?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've not actually been in gaming for all that long. I think it's 8 years now. But I've always been in entertainment. I started off in film and TV, and then went over to digital music. Went into books and literature for a while, and only then made it to gaming. Unfortunately, I have been a gamer for a very, very long time, and have been following the industry. So I'm happy to say that the last part of the gaming industry is now gaming. And I started at Blizzard Entertainment.
Yeah.
We had an international headquarters, which was located in the Netherlands, and doing business development, payment strategy, and a lot of sort of brand and event partnerships across all the IPs. And that really was something of a dream for me. I'd been trying to work with or for Blizzard for I think 8 years before that. So it really was finally got there. Persistence is key. And yeah, it was a fantastic opportunity. The office there was great. We were working with what Blizzard called the international region, which was basically everything outside of North America and China, because China was through the JV. And so, yeah, that was great working with some of my favorite titles and being able to contribute. It was like a dream come true for sure.
Well, it doesn't get much bigger than Blizzard, so it's a nice introduction. But I mean, business development, does it, because you work mainly in entertainment?
Yeah.
I mean, how different is it in these different areas of entertainment? Is it pretty much the same? What is business development?
Yeah, so business development can be a wide variety of things. At Blizzard, it was basically how do we get our games into the hands of more players, and through strategic partnerships or adding payment methods, or identifying how gamers play their games and or buy their games, and to make sure that wherever they want to buy their products, they can. But also partnering with amazing folks at Red Bull or at HyperX and that kind of thing, to bring our titles into the hands of the people who buy their hardware. It was, at the time, it was also setting up the brand partnerships for BlizzCon, so that at BlizzCon our gamers could really feel what it is to play on an HP Omen, or or use Corsair headsets and that sort of thing, all the way to partnering with Coca-Cola for Overwatch. So that was a pretty wide net, so to speak. But when it comes to, is it much different in the rest of entertainment? I mean, all in all, it's a passion project, right? It is.
Yeah.
It's not like you're developing your product and then doing small iterations and scaling. What you're doing is you're creating something which speaks to an emotional connection, and it speaks to something that you either like or dislike, but it's different every single time. Yeah. There's no, traditionally with consumer electronics, you'll say, at Christmas time is my seasonality, but then again in the film industry is summer blockbusters, right? So every iteration of your product is different, and every iteration is a passion project, which is what makes it amazing, because it never gets boring and you're always doing something different. And it's really great.
I suppose it just gives you many strings to your bow. You've seen quite a range of different things. You had lots of different experiences, and you bring that all into what you're doing now. I suppose to go into why we're speaking, Marc, because I've tried to speak to a range of different people within the industry for these chats. I spoke to owners of businesses, CEOs, COOs, engineering managers, people in TA, trying to find a positive angle and the games, because obviously there's quite a lot of doom and gloom at the minute. And one thing which I see as a major positive is what's happening in the Middle East at the minute. Saudi Arabia have got their fund, and they're really ramping up the game scene in the Middle East. So I wanted to get some insights from you about
Sure.
how you see that and the benefits of that for the gaming community as a whole. So
Yeah, for sure.
what's the overall vibe over there? What's happening over in Saudi Arabia at the minute?
Yeah, I mean, it's when you talk about vibes, I mean, it's incredibly powerful and incredibly positive here. I started with Steer in business development again. We'll go into how broad that is in just a second. But I started there in December, or here in December in Riyadh, and it it's been an amazing adventure. Steer Studios, for those who are not familiar, is we are a part of the Savvy Games Group. The Savvy Games Group also owns ESL Faceit and Scopely, via Evolve and 966. And Steer is basically Savvy's in-house AAA studio where we make games for the world, from Riyadh in an effort to really help build the region as an entertainment, as a gaming hub. It's part of the Saudi government, Saudi royal family's vision for 3030 and sort of the plans for what a post-oil economy looks like. And entertainment is a key pillar there. And we can see that from the immense amount of investment that's going into all of the entertainment branches, but specifically into gaming. And so we as a Savvy Group are owned by the PIF, which is the Sovereign Wealth Fund. And we're building this studio out now to really start and kickstart the process of creating a gaming ecosystem and a gaming hub to really move forward and develop and grow to be able to, rival the biggest studios and biggest markets in the world. So it's an amazing transformation. Like I said, I arrived in December, which is probably one of the nicest times to come there because
A little bit cooler.
Yeah, I mean, when the rest of Europe is basically fighting rain and snow and miserableness, it's just sunshine and 18 to 25 degrees, perfect temperature. So I arrived in a great time, but the studio right now is probably slightly under 2 years. We were initially called Savvy Game Studios, so we were branded last year at Gamescom. So our 1 year Steer Studio brand anniversary is coming up. And it's been an adventure to come here. Absolutely. I came here with an open mind around what, I didn't want to have any preconceptions about what to expect. But to be honest, it's been one surprise after the other, from the the sheer size of the city to the amazingly welcoming people, the kind and super open and very warm people to the studio itself. There's an amazing team with really great talent here, and having that background goal, social goal, basically of creating the ecosystem and creating what gaming in Saudi Arabia is going to look like is really amazing. And it's humongously fast paced. There's a lot of big and lofty ambitions, so
Yeah,
you have to work hard to make them happen.
Yeah, and I suppose there's a couple of things what I pick up on there, because I think there is a preconception about the Middle East, Saudi Arabia as a whole, and that's something which they're doing hard to try and change. So your experience has been all positive? Has there been a culture shift? What's the biggest takeaways from the relocation?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be lying if I said it was all positive. All relocation and all moving from one place to another comes with positives and negatives. But all in all, it's been overwhelmingly positive. I think the welcoming nature of specifically the people here and the local people here in Saudi Arabia has been amazing. I mean, we went to Darija, which is the old city in Riyadh, and
All right, cool.
They've been really revitalizing the old school architecture, which is absolutely stunning. It's a beautiful part of the city to go to. And there's like this little walk-through museum, and I went with there with a couple of colleagues, and we got approached on numerous occasions by people who were just like, "Oh, welcome to Saudi. You know, how are you finding it here? Are you enjoying it? And can we help with any information?" Just not people working there, just actual people on the street.
Wow.
And that's happened also at Boulevard City, which is where the Esports World Cup is happening right now, where you just get, these amazingly welcome people who actually genuinely care about if you are enjoying it there, what you think about the company, the country.
Yeah.
And if you're enjoying it. And, I think the cynics who are watching this will probably say like, okay, yeah, they've been instructed to do that by the government, or they're trying to sell you something, and none of that is actually true, because there's no way that random people off the street out of their own volition are just going to come to you and say, oh, I'm going to try to make you feel welcome. There's a genuine openness, and the culture here is really based around hospitality, and you can see that because everybody wants to make you feel comfortable, and everybody wants to make you feel at home. And yeah, I mean, these are people that are also proud of the country that they have, and proud of what they've achieved, and they should be, because Riyadh really is an amazing city. You're looking at a city that's roughly 8 million people. That's
Wow. I didn't realize it was that big.
Yeah, that's London, or twice the size of Berlin, right? So and it has a very sort of Western-y vibe to it in the way it's laid out. So it's all relatively gridded, and it's sprawling out in sort of width primarily rather than height. And so the city has a number of really beautiful pockets where you can go to, and the architecture is amazing, and the things that they're able to build here in short amounts of time is really, really quite spectacular.
I bet. I mean, there's always going to be cynics. Everyone's got an opinion. I see people posting who live over there all saying the same things as you. But when you look at the North American games industry, you look at the European games industry, the established forces now are really struggling.
Yep.
And the people who are in game development are in it because they're passionate about it. And you've got a section of the world who are investing so much money. They're planning on making, 250 game studios, 39,000 jobs between now and 2030. So, yeah, not every country's good. Everyone has the negatives, but I think fundamentally for the games industry, for me anyway, I can't see anything other than a positive for that.
No, absolutely. I mean, putting aside the lofty ambitions for a second, the MENA region in itself is officially now the fastest growing global sort of gaming region in the world. It's worth around $7 billion of revenue, which is 4.7 or almost 5% of the total. And the growth in the region is also 5% versus global 0.6.
Yeah.
So you're looking at a region that's growing, at 3-4x what the global gaming market is growing at. And if you then zoom into the MENA 3, which is the UAE, Saudi, and Egypt, you're even looking at close to 8%.
Wow.
Right? So this is a humongously fast growing industry in this region. And then couple that with the fact that roughly 60 to 70% of this region is under 30. Which means you have an incredibly large group of young, savvy, no pun intended by the way, technologically advanced people who are looking for entertainment, and these are going to be gamers at heart. And so it's an incredibly interesting and rewarding region to be in, and pile on top of that the fact that we have full government, full royal family support to do these amazing initiatives. Yeah, you're looking at a region that's going to be transformative in the next 5 years.
Yeah, and when you look at the funding as well, it's coming out of a massive pot of money, which is there and it's ready to go. Whereas, I mean, to get funding now for a game studio, you've got to have investors, you've got to have either really deep pockets or the investors, and then you behest to them. I think, when it's coming out of one big pot and it's just guaranteed, it makes things a lot easier and gives a lot more job security and studio security when things are getting set up. And then you've got the eSport World Cup, which have just happened, which looked amazing.
It's still going on, actually.
Is it?
Yeah, it's 8 weeks. It'll go until
I didn't realize it was that long.
Yeah, the grand finals is going to be in the weekend after Gamescom.
Right. Wow.
So it's 8 weeks of esports celebration, and it's like nothing we've seen before. I think last year it was still called Gamers 8, and now because of some of the investments we made, and also because of the establishment of the Esports World Cup Foundation, it's officially become the Esports World Cup, and that's going to be a yearly thing. 8 weeks worth of esports celebrations, specifically for the players. You're looking at a prize pool that is staggering in this world, right? The TI was always the big one, but no longer. I think this year you're looking at a total prize pool of $60 million, which is
it's low.
Yeah, and Ralph, the CEO of the Esports World Cup Foundation, he also, and rightfully so, he dubs it, this is life-changing money.
Yeah, sure.
In a time when esports organizations are struggling a little bit with the quote-unquote esports winter, and we're trying to find out what business models work. Something like this, a tournament like this, can help keep those organizations and those gamers doing what they love and competing at the highest level. So it's an absolutely amazing celebration, and I encourage people who are interested in esports to either watch online or just fly over and come see it, because it really is an amazing achievement.
It'd definitely be an eye opener for anyone over there, no doubt. So talk to us a bit more about Steer then, Steer Studios. You say that you're working on the AAA side of things. Is there anything you can tell us about the sort of genres you're working on, or are you tight-lipped on that?
I mean, I have to be a little bit careful, but so Steer in itself, like I said, is a little less than 2 years old. We have around 90 people right now, if you include the interns that we recently welcomed. We welcomed 10 local interns recently, and our goal and sort of the mission is to build AAA games for the world. Now, that's obviously a pretty lofty ambition for a studio that's just starting off. And so we have started in mobile, whereby we have teams that are working on a number of different games, one of which is in soft launch now. And we're testing with those and aim to release a number of titles in the near future. And next to mobile, we're also looking at what the future holds and where that industry goes. Right now, it's a little bit in decline, but it's still the largest it's still the largest gaming sector. So there we're also looking at what comes next. We are building hybrid casual games right now, so easy to pick up, easy to fun to play, easy to master, but also doesn't consume your life type of title.
Yeah. As a parent, that's very important to me.
Yes, no, absolutely. It's not one of those things where you will lose your sons and daughters to the game.
Yeah.
So, and that's been fantastic. And then on the other side, it's sort of one of my primary goals this year as well, is to work with our team and work with our console VP of PC console to build out our PC console side of the business, and really start to work on what does a PC console title look like now in the world of today, and how can we make a mark on the industry? So that's incredibly exciting, but I do have to be sadly tight-lipped on that.
Well, yeah, that's understandable. I'm interested to know, does it give you a bit of creative freedom to be able to move away from the established ways of working and the established ways of creating games? Can you be a bit more adventurous in the production of it?
Yeah, I mean, I think so, right? I think one thing that's important to say, and my LinkedIn messages are going to thank me for saying this, but um, we do have strong funding and strong backing, but that doesn't mean that we're just spending money like crazy.
Yeah.
Everything has to go through a very carefully vetted procedure, and we always, in the back of our mind, we have that social responsibility to not only create an amazing game that's going to sell a lot of titles and bring in revenue for us to be able to survive, but we also constantly have to look at, okay, what does everything that we do have an effect on, the Saudi industry, or the MENA industry, Middle East industry. So yes, that allows us to be a little bit creative, but it also means that we constantly have to think back, okay, are we doing something responsible, or whatever we're doing has no real purpose, right? We're not going to take a risk on building a game in the type of AAA budgets that we're seeing right now.
Yeah.
With especially with the game budget inflation that's going on, we're not going to invest that money unless we know for sure that we're going to get something back for it, especially in terms of, what does that do to build the ecosystem here? We need to think about in 2030 when we launch a game, how many local people have we hired? How many have we trained? What is that ecosystem look like after we, starting with the interns that we hire all the way up to training, the next gaming superstar. So it's that dual hat that makes everything super interesting as well, because it's not, you're not just looking at, okay, how can I make as much money as possible?
It's about sustainability. It's about building the infrastructure, learning from past mistakes, what other people have made, and making sure that your company is sustainable into the future beyond 2030, and making it one of the standout performers in the world of games. Sounds great, Marc.
Yeah, and you know what? We don't have legacy or tech debt, so to speak, right? Not that we're building anything, but we don't need to change anything because there's nothing there. So, right, we can start over and say, okay, this is how we want to build games, or this is how we want to set up the studio. This is how we want to work. This is what our culture is going to be. This is, you can define it all from scratch, which is what makes it also amazing, because what your goal is towards the end. You know that we have to be super ambitious, but we can determine what that all looks like from the ground up. And that's in stark contrast to when I started at Blizzard, because they have 25 years worth of legacy right there, and not all of it's good, as we all saw from the news coming out. So that social responsibility also means you have to be careful of any of that side, right? Like toxicity or discrimination of any sort, that sort of thing. It just doesn't have a place. You can't start a studio when that is prevalent. So that makes it super interesting.
Absolutely. So I suppose last question before I let you get off. It's more about the contrast between your experience in Europe and what you're experiencing now in the Middle East. Is it much different, or is it pretty much the same, but you've got this clean slate and the infrastructure to just thrive?
There's definitely differences. I mean, you can't be blind to the fact that the cultures are different. The ways of working are different. Entrepreneurship is different. But a gamer will remain a gamer, right? Here in Saudi, family and hospitality super high on the culture hit list. So you're looking at heavy console people where you can play together, and social gaming, and those type of online multiplayers are very, very popular. But the passion is huge. And this is what we're trying to do, is bring the level of passion in line with the level of talent, so that you can build amazing games. Whereas in Europe, everybody, you don't need to invent the wheel, but you are constantly talking to people who think they invented the wheel, right? So, you're stuck with legacy ways of doing things. I'm not saying that's bad. It's just that's a different way of doing things and looking at things.
Great. Well, I think that's it for me, Marc. The point I wanted to try and find is that, positives in this industry. We've got an incredible area of the world who are really going full tilt on doing something special over there.
Absolutely.
You got anything else you want to add?
No, I mean, I would just encourage everybody to, uh, wipe the plate clean from anything that you think about the region and just come visit. I'm not saying everybody's going to like it. I'm also not saying that people who have views are wrong. I'm just saying, listen, open your eyes, clean slate, come here and visit, experience what it is, and then make up your mind for yourself.
Well, I'm currently sat in an office in Rotherham, which is grey. It's raining, and it's supposed to be summer. So, I mean, just on a very foundational basis, that sun sounds really nice.
I mean, it's 47 degrees here, so I'm not sure how much you'll like that sun.
No, I'd take it for about 10 minutes, definitely.
Yeah.
But Mark, it's so great to have this conversation with you. Thanks for taking the time out to speak to us. And yeah, can't wait to see what happens with Steer Studios.
Absolutely. Keep your eyes peeled. Thanks for having me. It was great to chat.